Jim Gaffigan's Comedy Monster. That is his latest stand-up comedy special, which is available on Netflix. I've been a fan of Gaffigan's for a minute. If you watch any of his specials, you definitely will be too. He's what's known as a quote-unquote clean comic. Doesn't curse much, if at all. And is definitely the type of comedy you could watch like in any group, you know, kids, elderly folks, etc. But he's so fucking good and funny and just like universally respected within like the comedy scene. At least that's my understanding from the outside looking in. And I've definitely spoken about some of his past specials. He has most on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. He has one or two on Amazon Prime. And this latest one, again, is on Netflix. I saw him live once, me and my wife, which we really enjoyed. But yeah, he's definitely one of those comics that whenever a special of his drops, both me and my wife are like anticipating it and watch it together. Speaking of wives, interestingly, he writes, if you notice like the ending credits for most of his specials, he and his wife both write it. You know, like the writing credit goes to both him and his wife. And this one, it went to just him. But that's definitely interesting. That's not something you see much. But like I said, this one was just him and it was noticeably better. But I'm joking. I am joking. All his specials are great. But yeah, that's just something I noticed because, again, it's a writing podcast, folks. I focus on the writer. But yeah, a few definite standouts from this special was he was speaking about the pandemic, just like speaking to like the stages that we all went through of just like completely freaked out to like not really caring anymore. He was speaking about, do you guys remember like that phase that we all went through where, you know, we didn't know if you can get COVID from like touching surfaces, and we would, whenever we would get like groceries, we would get home and like wipe it down with Lysol, like wipe down the boxes with Lysol, or when we get like a package in the mail, you know, we would use like Lysol or disinfectant wipes. And that was a real thing. You know, I definitely did that for a while. But I remember there were like funny memes about this as well when it shows like somebody like in the beginning. I remember a meme that was like something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing, but somebody in like a hazmat suit with disinfectant wipes and like wiping down every nook and cranny of a package that they received. And it said like day 1 of the pandemic. And then like day 30 of the pandemic, it was just like somebody without the hazmat suit and just like with a tissue paper, just like dabbing the top of the box and saying, yeah, whatever, it's clean. And that's kind of how we all like progressed. But anyway, there was a specific line that I caught and loved when he's like speaking, you know, painting the picture of this scene of how we were with wiping down groceries and stuff like that. And he's just in that like funny voice, one of the funny voices that he does, where he's like, I'm just a normal guy cleaning a Triscuit box. And the fact that he just like chose a box of Triscuits was just like so funny to me for some reason. And then he's speaking about how in the beginning, you know, we were all motivated, or I don't want to speak for all, but some folks are motivated to get healthier, right? Because it's known that if you're healthier, you have a better time with COVID. You have a healthy, robust immune system. You know, you yourself are healthy, fit, and shape. You have a better shot with COVID in terms of like dealing with it. So, and a lot of people, myself included, you know, you start working out inside the apartment since you're in quarantine anyway. Like, fuck it. Can't do anything else. Might as well just like work out a little bit, you know, do that for 2 or 3 days and then go right back to doing shit. But he speaks about this arc and he's like, you know, the doctor said, you know, if you're fit and in shape, you'll live. And if not, you're going to die. And then he's like, turns out life or death, not the motivator you'd think it would be. Then I wrote down this note and I can't remember the fucking bit. Like I just wrote down like a word from it of something about like a tourist speaking about his wife. And I think it was something like a murderer fucking tourist guy that like winds up like killing his wife on vacation or something like that. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but I just wrote down that and that there was like an interaction between him of, have you seen my wife? And he replies, oh, you heard her sassing off at me. But I just found that sassing off. I hadn't heard that before. Like put that way. You heard her sassing off at me. I just thought that was really funny. Just like that, like wordplay there. But I forget the fucking joke. Fuck. Now this last joke, spoiler alert, by the way, I forgot to say that in the beginning. My bad. But this last joke was and not the last joke in the special, but the last one that like I jotted down that really fucking just like made me and my wife laugh to the point where I started having trouble breathing and I had to pause it. My wife, I think, peed on herself. Don't tell her I told you guys that. TMI. But you're like, I literally had trouble breathing. Like it was I think that's the first time that I was ever like laughing like that much, that hard, or that like unexpectedly. Like I had to pause it, like catch my breath. Like I was like scared there for a second. But that's how fucking funny it was. And this joke was reminiscent to another joke that gave me like a similar like just like outburst, laughed out loud laughter, which was in a Bill Burr special where he does that thing of the kid playing with his dad, and he was like, "But Dad, I want to look at you." And then, and it's like this generation of kids that grew up with distant, cold fathers who were like providers, but just financially, not emotionally. And like Burr's from that era, Gaffigan apparently is as well, or it just like based this joke in that like type of mentality. So he's speaking about him as a kid and how he was like kind of like scared of his pops, and he says, my dad wouldn't even like make an effort to like turn his head. If we would make noise or whatever, he would just like yell at us and we would like instantly stop because we were like terrified of him. And I'm paraphrasing it, by the way. He was like, I remember, one time specifically, he had his like back towards us and he was like in his lazy boy recliner chair or whatever, or at least this is how like I pictured it in my mind. And he does like in his voice, "Hey, what the heck is going on back there?" without turning his head. And then he responds, this Gaffigan as a kid responds, "Nothing. We're just celebrating my birthday." And he like says it like shying over, like putting his head down, like, "Nothing. We're just celebrating my birthday." Yo, I couldn't stop fucking laughing. It was so fucking funny. You guys definitely have to check out Comedy Monster. Really, really funny special. Especially if you're a Jim Gaffigan fan. I highly recommend it. Jim Gaffigan's Comedy Monster, streaming now on Netflix. Check it out.